let's go to our friend here. Philly Godfather. I could not wait to get your takes on this thing here.
What a gift. What a gift. Oh, it's not even Christmas. The Vikings are giving out presents.
Holy cow. Hey, you know what? It's what's funny is that thing, you guys are so right. It hung right around that number 6, didn't it? The entire time. And there it was last night. Even, get this. So the Eagles had a 16-point lead in the first game and gave it up. Then they had a 20-point lead in game 2 and gave it up. Give me your takeaways from what you've seen so far, the first 2 weeks and maybe from last night too.
Well, I mean, the first week of the season against the Patriots, that was a gift. I mean, if they don't turn over the ball twice in the first half, the Eagles don't jump out to the 16-0 lead, and they don't win the game, and they don't cover the closing Vegas line. They didn't cover the original opening line at 5.5, but the game closed 3, and they did cover that. Now, this week, game opened up 8. We took 8 plus 8 on the Vikings. We took plus 7.5, plus 7, plus 6.5, plus 6. I even took some plus 290 on the money line. And to be honest, if the Vikings don't turn the ball over 4 times and Jefferson doesn't, give the ball away right before halftime and give the Eagles a gift, this could be a lot different. Thank God this offensive line is still pretty strong and they can run the ball, or else it would have got ugly last night. I mean, the Vikings should have won that game. If you cause turnovers, obviously, but a lot of them are random. And this Eagles team moving forward, if they get into the playoffs, they might be one and done against teams like Detroit, San Fran, Dallas, who've looked more efficient on the football field than this Philadelphia Eagles team.
Do you think they took the ball out of Jalen's hands in the last quarter of that game? 48 rushing attempts. It's like they stopped throwing the ball look, the Vikings have no defensive personnel on that side. They're terrible. They got a coach. The coach was better than what was over there on that other side. But do you feel they just said, hey, forget it. We're not throwing the ball. We're not going high turnover. We know we can run the ball. And they just went, this is who our identity. It just seems they're fighting their true identity of being a run team. And they want to pass early. They get themselves in trouble. Then they have to go back to who they are.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a hard time passing the ball. He's having a hard time processing his reads, pre-snap. He's just not the same Jalen Hurts he was last season. He has the same weapons, and maybe all that money made him a little fat. I don't know what it is, but he's not the same player. Thank God, like I said, they can run the ball, or else that Vikings team would have came in here as 7.8, 8.6, and whatever the line closed at 6-point underdogs, and they would have won the game outright.
You think this thing gets turned around in 10 days?
I mean, they're 7-point favorites Monday night against Tampa Bay, and I just bet Tampa Bay plus 7. I think so. I'm not investing in this team. There's nothing this team has done on the football field that tells me as a sports bettor, as a sports investor, that I want to invest in this team moving forward. You look at the regular season win totals, it was set by Vegas before the season started. It was 11.5, and they started off the season 2-0, and it's still 11.5. Then you look at the Cowboys, whose regular season win totals opened up at 9.5, and now they're closing in at 11. So you see the upgrade in the Cowboys. You see the upgrade in a couple other teams. But this Eagles team, I'm not investing in. No.
So the line changes on win totals as the year goes on. So these are prop bets that move around, kind of like the stock that goes up and down a little bit here. So you think the Cowboys are trending in a better direction, and San Francisco's trending in a better direction than Philly is right now, even though – so in your opinion, them being 2-0, that thing should have went up potentially to 12.
Well, yeah, it should have went to 12. Now, they were expected to win those 2 games, right, before the season started. But it's the way they've won those 2 games that hasn't moved the needle in the sports betting market, while the other teams, the way they've won, have moved the needle and has moved the market.
Interesting. All right. So the coaching, I mean, are you blaming Hurts for how he's looked, or are you blaming the coach, or both?
I think everyone's got to take responsibility of what's going on. Now, I think the Eagles organization, they know that these 2 victories have been gifts, and they're going to do everything they can to try and, make this a more cohesive team, maybe go try to grab a couple guys wherever they can find. But moving forward, they're in serious trouble. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Hurts. I mean, he doesn't look the same. He's having issues finding open receivers, tight ends, everything on the football field. If they're not running the ball, they're not winning these games.
What did you make of A.J. Brown and Jalen bitching at one another on the sidelines?
It's not good. That's not good. You know that. That's not good. There's something going on in that locker room. There's something seriously going on. And I think the players know it.
All right, let's get into the games this weekend. And so you're taking the Bucs in week 3 into 7.
I already took them.
At home.
At home, +7. I already took them.
Okay. Let's go this weekend. Green Bay at Atlanta. What do you like? Who do you like in this one?
Tough game, man. Both teams looked pretty good last week, but I'm going to have to go with the home favorite here. They just got to, win the game basically to cover the spread. I like the Falcons here. I think Green Bay's going on the road. It'll be a little tougher time for them against a Bears team that just, they're all banged up on their offensive line. They got some issues too, that Chicago Bears team. So I like Atlanta.
So do you like both these young guys here, Jordan Love and Desmond Ridder? Do you think they're trending up? I mean, I'll tell you this. If I'm Atlanta, I'm feeling pretty good about Desmond Ridder right now and who he is compared to what's going on in Chicago with Justin Fields.
Yeah, both guys are starting to grow on me. I mean, we talked about it in preseason. Love looked good. Ridder's looking good during the regular season. And they've both won their first games of the year. So that's big for a young team to get them going and get that momentum started.
How about the Raiders going into Broncoville last week with Garoppolo? I don't know what it is about that kid, man. He just wins every single place that he goes. And if you're Sean Payton and you're Russell Wilson, so you spent $20 million on a coach a year, you gave up first-round draft choices to New Orleans, and you're paying Wilson a ton of money. Boy, I mean, actually, it's Buffalo. It's Raiders and Buffalo. Let's go there first. Las Vegas Raiders and Buffalo. Who do you like in that one?
It's a big number. I think it opened up 9-10. I think it's down to 8.5. 8. It's actually 8 in a couple markets. The betting public's going to be all over Buffalo here. No one's expecting this team to go 0-2 and not cover the spread 2 weeks in a row. And to be honest, I like Garoppolo. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm leaning towards the Raiders plus the 8.5. I'm hoping it goes to 10. If it goes to 10, I'll be all over the Raiders.
Okay, let's go to Denver then. Washington at Denver. I just said this about the Broncos and the head coach and the quarterback. But Washington, also Chase Young is going to be activated for him to play this week. And it'll be the first time this year he gets an opportunity to play. Washington, if they win this game here in Denver, right, they're 2-0. I mean, you look at them a little different, do you, if they win this ball game? Or do you think this is going to be a tough putt for them to go up to Denver and win this game?
It's going to be tough for them to win this game. I know Denver's getting some guys back on the offensive side of the ball. And there's a trend. I know last year, teams that started off the season 0-1 playing against teams that were 1-0, they went 8-2 against the spread and straight up. So, if you go 0-2 in this league, you're in trouble. So these guys are going to give it everything they have. I think Denver wins the game, but to cover that 3.5-point spread, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I kind of like Washington plus 3.5 here.
How about one of the games of the weekend here? Baltimore at Cincinnati. Cincinnati was atrocious this past weekend. And Baltimore they kind of stumbled around a little bit in that ball game with the new offense here. It's at Cincinnati. Pretty big game in the AFC here this weekend.
Yeah, I was expecting big things from Baltimore, but at halftime, the game was basically tied. What was it, 7-6? I forget this. They pulled away in the second half. But that Texans team is all banged up on their offensive line. They're missing a bunch of guys on defense. Baltimore should have really beat them down. And to me, since they had some issues beating them down, I'm not really sold on Baltimore this year now moving forward. And they got a couple guys hurt going into this game. I took Cincinnati on the money line. I laid minus 160. It went from 3 to 3.5. I think the Bengals bounced back this week and they beat the Ravens and probably cover the spread.
Are you buying Detroit? Seattle at Detroit. Seattle really had some issues against the Rams in week 1. Are you buying them? I mean, they go into Detroit goes into Kansas City, and I know that they were missing Jones and Kelsey, so I get it there. But still, Goff once again, man, he goes in the lights, outplays Mahomes. I mean, are you buying them?
I'm starting to. I mean, I like them to win their division. I gave it out on Twitter. before the season started. And it's never easy beating Kansas City. I mean, let's be honest, man. Mahomes is so good. Andy Reid's so good. And for them to do that, that's a predictive indicator to me that this team's for real this year. I don't like the 4.5-point spread, but if gun to my head, if I had to pick a side, I'd go with Detroit.
You know, we talk about Jalen struggling getting out of the gate here. He's 2-0. Then I look at the Chargers and go, boy, I'll tell you what. I mean, doesn't it have to get to a point where you say this about Herbert? I mean, we're hard on Jalen, but now I think you also have to bring a heavier hammer here because this guy's got to win games, man. I mean, he's getting paid now. I hate Brandon Staley, their coach. I don't think he's the right fit there. I mean, the Spanos family's not the greatest family on the planet running that organization. Hey, how do you have Dan Fouts and Phillip Rivers and go nowhere with them? And you go to the Super Bowl with Stan Humphries. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, where are you going here with this? And there's Tennessee. You know, Tannehill struggled last week, I thought. Who do you like in this one?
I mean, the game was 3.5. It's down to 2.5. So there's some sharp money. Yeah, there's some sharp money on Tennessee. Anytime you see a move off that key number of 3, it takes a lot of money to move the market, even early in the week when you got softer betting limits. Blaming Justin Herbert, I think you need a sledgehammer for the coach. I mean, the kid's putting up yards. They put up the most amount of points in NFL history over the last 3 seasons. And like we said last week, if you guys remember, I said whoever has the ball last is probably going to win that Dolphins-Chargers game. And I said bet the over. You know, I knew it was going to be a shootout, but I can't blame Justin Herbert. I'm blaming the coach every day of the week and twice on Sunday here. Man, that kid can play. He puts up points. He puts up a ton of yards. And the coach has to fix the problem. Now, in this game, I like the Chargers. I like them on the money line. I don't see them losing 2 games in a row. I think they go into Tennessee to get the job done. Tennessee's going to try to slow the game down, limit the possessions, run the ball, keep that offense off the field. But I don't think they got enough horses on that team to beat Justin Herbert and the Chargers this week.
Okay. Is it possible the Buccaneers are 2-0 rolling into that Monday night game down in Tampa versus another 2-0 team? So the Monday night game is going to have 2 teams that are undefeated playing against one another in the Buccaneers. With a Buck defense is better than anything that's in Philadelphia. Okay. They got Mike Evans and Godwin too. And those to me, first give me your thoughts here on Chicago, Tampa. And I'll tell you again, I think Tampa's got some kryptonite that could hurt Philly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the Bears opened up 1.5. Now it's flip-flop. Tampa Bay's minus 2.5 at home. So there's been some early money on Tampa Bay. As soon as the 3, there were a couple threes that popped up. Tampa Bay went to -3, and I took some 3. I think Tampa Bay regresses a little this week. They got a great defense like we talked about before the season started. That's going to keep them in a bunch of games. As long as the Bears don't lose the turnover battle here, I think they can stay within the Vegas number of +3. We saw what happened in the first week of the season with the Vikings turning the ball over 3 times. And, Tampa Bay's defense is solid, but I don't think that happens this week. I like the Bears +3.
Let me tell you why I like the Bucks. I hate Baker Mayfield. Okay, I hate Baker Mayfield, but I never thought Mac Jones would throw for 350 yards on the Philadelphia Eagles too, okay? I mean, if Mac Jones can do it, Baker Mayfield can do it also. So, to me, and plus there's better weapons than there were up in New England, and you got 2 wideouts. One guy could be a potential Hall of Famer in Mike Evans, and you got a pretty decent offensive line there, and you got a really stout defense. It's at home too, boy. I'll tell you what, man. You watch, I think that number starts rolling back off that 7 too, because if Avonte Maddox is out too, now you're going to get Bradbury back. I still think Eagles go down there and win that game, but I'll tell you what, 7, I like that money there on that Bucks-Eagle game.
I already bet it. I think the game closes closer to 4. I'm seeing it go down to 6.5 now. A little 6 is out there. I think that line's going to keep dropping. And I already bet it, like I said, Dan. +7's a gift for us.
Kansas City against old Dougie P.
Man, the whole world's going to be betting Kansas City. Just like Buffalo. No one's expecting this team to go 0-2. No one's expecting this team not to cover the spread 2 weeks in a row.
What's the number?
It went from 2.5, 3. It's bouncing back and forth in the market. Right, actually, it's up to 3.5 even money at some of the sharper shops offshore. I think that's too much. You got revenge here with Dougie P from last year's playoff game. They added, Ridley. I like the Jags here plus 3.5. I think it's going to be a close game, and this is one of those games. Whoever has the ball last is probably going to win. Kelsey's still, he's playing, but he's going to be a little hobbled still. Chris Jones, a little rust. He's going to have to dust that off of him. I like the Jags plus 3.5.
I think Kansas City starts out 0-2.
They might. You never know.
I do. I think they start out 0-2, and I think the Jags are going to. Who would have thought in our lifetime the Jags start out 0-2? I mean, the Jags start out 2-0, and Kansas City, with the reigning MVP, starts out 0-2. That should tell Eagle fans, hey, if you thought this thing was going to be some serenade getting back to the NFC title game, you're out of your mind. Kansas City's going to struggle out of the gate.
Yeah. The Eagles got real issues, though. Kansas City, I feel more comfortable with Kansas City than I do with the Eagles.
Yeah, because of the quarterback.
and the coach.
Hey, and the coach, right? I mean, those guys are going to cover some shit there with those two dudes. Okay, I mean, I don't even know how to ask you about this game. Indy and Houston, I mean, is that one you walk away from?
I actually took Indy plus 1.5. Houston's their offensive line's all banged up, and both of their starting safeties might not play. They haven't practiced all week, so they're going to have some issues on their offensive line and their defense. And you know what? The Colts hung around last week. They didn't lose the turnover battle, they were right there. They were hanging around with that Jags team who's supposed to win the division and go to the playoffs and, might have an opportunity to go deep in the playoffs. So Indy hung around. The Texans, they played a good half, and after that, I like the Colts here plus 1.5.
You know what? I wouldn't have said after week one that this would have been a decent game here, but I don't know, man. I think Matthew Stafford found the fountain of middle age or something here, because he looked pretty damn good in that game, and that was without Cooper Kupp. And there's the 49ers. They go into Pittsburgh, and boy, I'll tell you what, you guys got killed in this game because, I mean, for whatever reason, and it was at, what was it, like 2 the number? Last week against the Steelers, I mean, they were kind of taken by –
They closed -1.
They closed and then they end up throwing up 31-7 or 30-7, whatever it was. How do you look at this game, 49ers and the Rams?
I mean, the 49ers look really efficient against the Steelers, and the Steelers were supposed to be pretty good. That was one of the games we were wrong on. I mean, we don't get them all. Yeah, I mean, did it shock me? No, but I expected a lot more from Pittsburgh in the first game of the season with Mike Tomlin. But this week, I mean, the Rams are playing pretty good. It's down to 7 in some shops, 7.5. That's a big number. Everyone's going to be teasing San Francisco down to -, depending on what kind of teaser you're putting in there. It's a tough game to call. The number's right there, and I haven't bet the game. I don't want to give out advice on a game that I haven't bet on. If my money's not on the play, I don't want to tell people who to bet on. So until I bet it, I'll let you guys know.
You don't think the Giants put up 2 stinkers in a row and against Arizona? Arizona fought against the Commanders pretty hard there, the Fighting Gannons. I mean, but you don't think do the Giants start out 0-2?
I don't think they start out 0-2. What scares me is I checked the bet, splits, and right now, Vegas, AC, offshore, 80% of the money's on the Giants. That's a little scary if you want to back them. I never want to be on the public side, even though they probably win around 50% of the time. What eats up the public is the VIG, the 10% juice. But when you got 8 out of every 10 ticket being punched on the New York Giants, I don't really want to bet. I don't want to bet on them. And the Arizona's so bad, I don't want to back them, invest, my money in Arizona. And the Commanders did turn the ball over a bunch of times against Arizona. So that's what really kept them in the game. Gun to my head, if I had to bet it, I'd probably be a square. I'd probably bet with the pot. You got to go with the Giants here. I mean, if you had to.
Okay, this is a really weird game here. The MILF Hunter and the Jets versus the Cowboys in Dallas. I mean, what's the number 2? And by the way, Dallas, do you think that's a damn good defense? Okay, so do you think this is an under number? And do you think this is closer than what people are really looking at with this? Because they're good on defense.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are really, really good on defense. And that Cowboys defense, I mean, unless my eyes are going bad, they look like one of the fastest defenses I've ever seen. When's the last time you seen a defense that fast? They actually got to the quarterback quicker than any other NFL team in week 1. So this defense is for real. It's tough. You got no quarterback with the Jets. The total went from 46.5. It's down to 38.5. So they're not expecting many points in this one. I had bet the Cowboys early before the Jets game. So I got a good number. I laid 160 on the money line. It went up to as high as -9.5. Now it's back down to 8.5, 9. I still think the Jets can keep this game kind of close with that defense. I'm not expecting many points in this one either. I like the Jets. If it gets back to 9, 9.5, 10, I'll be looking to bet the Jets here. At the current number, 9, yeah, I could see the Jets covering the spread.
Hey, are you buying the Miami Dolphins? And it's New England, too. In New England at Gillette. I mean, boy, I'll tell you, if Tua that might be the most frightening duo between Tyreek Hill and Tagovailoa. I mean, 466, his completion percentage was off the charts, too. I mean, boy, he looked awful good in that game. And you know what I loved about Tua? Stepped up in the pocket for a kid who you would think may be a little apprehensive on doing that. He got popped in the face a couple times. I'll tell you what, man, I was impressed. This kid has a lot of courage in that pocket.
Yeah, he's got a lot of heart. And this is one of the teams, like we took the Cowboys at 16-1. We took the Browns at 39-1. And we also took the Dolphins at 40-1 before the season started. Now, Miami's down to 15-1 to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the market's moving in the right direction. The sharpest guys in the world are really liking this Dolphins team. But this week, I mean, it's up to 3. I can't take the Patriots anything under 3. If it gets to 3.5, I might be looking to take the Patriots here plus 3.5. I think whoever wins this game is going to be by a field goal.
Doubleheader on Monday night. New Orleans and Carolina. Think New Orleans goes to 2-0?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Carolina, rookie quarterback. That defense on the Saints is really good. They escaped last week. They got lucky. I had them on the money line last week. I already took them on the money line, and I laid 2.5 on this team. Lines up to 3. It's a key number. If you can buy the hook down to 2.5, take the Saints.
Are you buying Cleveland? They played Pittsburgh in that second game on Monday night. Are you buying them? Do you think that's a pretty good-looking roster?
Stacked.
Yeah.
And we talked about them last week. I told everyone I took Cleveland last week, and this week, as soon as the number came out, I laid 1 on Cleveland. I'm looking at the screen now. It's 2.5 almost everywhere. 3s are starting to pop up. You want to bet them below that key number if you're looking to back Cleveland here. 2.5, I think they get the job done. I think they're the better team. I think they're the more talented team. I think Tomlin's a great coach, but you got 2 head coaches on this Cleveland Browns team with Stefanski and Jim Schwartz. And I think Schwartz has made all the difference in the world on the defensive side of the ball. And people are talking a lot of smack about Deshaun Watson, but he played better than 75% of the quarterbacks in week 1. I mean, his numbers weren't the best, but he played better than a lot of – he played better than Hurts. He played better than Lamar Jackson in week 1. He played better than a lot of guys. So this Cleveland Browns team is for real. And we're not going to invest in the team before the season started unless we did our research. And that's why we took 39-1 on the Browns to win the whole thing.
He said that he played better than Hurts, not me here.
He did. Look at his numbers, his QBR. I mean, the numbers are the numbers.
That's what I try to tell folks. Couple college games. Just get your thoughts. What's the money doing with Deion in Colorado? It's must-see television.
It's great.
I just don't know how good the team is yet. You know what I mean? Look, they got Colorado State this weekend. Then they got Oregon and SC on the back end of this. But how are you looking as a professional sports bettor here, looking at Colorado when you're putting money away with them, knowing full well that, it's kind of built on quicksand a little bit with all those transfers and the guys that were in the portal.
Yeah, and he turned over the whole roster in 1 year. Yep. I mean, what he's done so far has been an amazing job. And their season win total before the season started was 3.5. Now it's up to 6.5. And I still think they can win 7 games on the season. But coming into this game, the whole world's betting them. Right now, it's like 95% of the tickets are on Colorado. You're laying a big number. We took Colorado State plus 24. Before the season started, Colorado State's win totals were at 6.5. Colorado's was at 3.5. So this team can rumble a little bit. 24 points is a ton of points in college football, especially after 2 big wins. This is kind of a letdown spot for Colorado, and you're getting 24 points with Colorado State. I'll bet that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Penn State at Illinois. I don't know what the number is on that one there, but are you buying Penn State on being a 10-plus win team this year?
Yeah, we went over 9.5 wins before the season started. I think they get to 10. Two biggest tests are going to be Michigan and Ohio State, but Ohio State hasn't looked that great. Their quarterback hasn't impressed anybody. Michigan looks strong. The spread's 14.5, 15, depending on where you shop. It's a big number. It's a big number. I haven't bet it yet, but if I do, I'll put it out on Twitter for everyone to follow.
Well, I know next week's going to be a rough week for me here because I got Temple with my Canes next week, and the Buccaneers play the Eagles on Monday night. So, I mean, we're going to be pushing it to the hilt here. Hey, how can folks find you and your show and all the stuff that you do, my friend?
Yeah, check me out on Twitter at Philly Godfather. You can stop by my website, thephillygodfather.com. And we got the sports betting show on Sirius XM, channel 159, Sports Grid, JAKIB Sports, and we live stream it on Twitter as well. So make sure you guys check it out. You were on last week's episode. Thanks for coming on, Dan. And we're going to have you on a bunch of times this season.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you again. I appreciate you doing it, man.
Good luck, guys.
You got it. That is our friend, Philly Godfather. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.